Yay! I have got enough donations to buy Skyrim. I will play through it in a week and then review it right away. As many of you are probably aware, I have been promoting this video for some time, but I only recently got around to writing it up because Skyrim in real life teamed up to beat my ass harder than the Incredible Hulk trying to masturbate. But nonetheless, I have dug up my old notes and am ready to provide you with 5 to 8 minutes of monotone ranting about how the best game of 2011 sucked my non-existent balls. Except, it does not. Those of you who are fans of Morrowind, Fallout 3, and Oblivion will be happy to hear that Skyrim takes most of the good features of these games while fixing a good deal of the problems. And while you may have heard that the game uses a different engine than Oblivion and Fallout 3 and are scared you might play a bug-free game, you will be happy to hear that there are still dozens of glitches like invisible enemies, missing ground, teleporting NPCs, and even the occasional dancing pie. What you may be shocked to learn, however, is that despite these minor glitches, the game remained largely stable while I played it, having only one significant crash and one uncompletable questline in the entire 60+ hours I put into it. The story is compelling, the combat is fun and effective no matter what specialization you choose. The environments are beautiful, the dungeons are remarkably well made for exploring, and there is more content in this game than Fallout 3 and Oblivion combined. And none of this is ruined by frequent crashes or stability issues. So, all in all, I would say this is Bethesda's best game since Morrowind, and quite honestly, to subject you to an entire video of me nitpicking minor details I encountered in my playthrough would just be tacky. Oh, who the fuck am I kidding? Because I have a credit rating worse than Peter Popoff and I live in a country that believes online transaction is a euphemism for transgender phone sex, I am one of the few people who still buys physical copies of games. Strangely enough, however, the first thing the Skyrim DVD did after asking me for my CD key was download the entire game through Steam. This led me to wonder exactly what was on the DVD I had purchased, but decided at very least it would make an excellent coaster. Upon installation, the game checked my hardware configuration, and I felt genuinely proud it deemed me qualified enough to play on medium graphics settings. This was a significant improvement for me because traditionally attempting to install a Bethesda game on my budget-oriented computers results in the computer expelling the disk, like a college frat boy expelling his 10th beer for the night. After actually loading the game and experiencing a brief cutscene where it is explained I have been arrested again, I was presented with a character creation screen. My original plan was to play some variety of elf because I had heard there were werewolves in this game, and I totally wanted in on that shit. But I was not liking the idea of a Khajiit werewolf because it reminded me too much of Nickelodeon's no-anus conjoined crime against nature. But I was unable to create an elf that did not look like some fairy tale's wicked grandmother, so I decided to once again play a Khajiit and continue the adventures of Whisker-Face McStabby Fuzzy Jerk. The actual game began when my execution was interrupted by a fire-breathing dragon, which, as interruptions go, is a pretty awesome one. During my escape, I was apparently given the choice to side with my captors or the various other people arrested with me, but since I was a little preoccupied with not getting my ass eaten, I accidentally sided with the Imperials without knowing it. Upon ducking into a barracks, I searched a box for a weapon to use and came face to face with what I would come to know as my greatest enemy, the menu interface. Finding nothing in the box of value, I attempted to close the box but could not find the button to do so. After trying all the standard buttons I could think of, I degenerated to mashing the keys randomly, slamming the keyboard with my face, and eventually opening the instruction manual to find the correct button was Tab. While Sneaky McFuzzboob spent the entire 15 minutes I was doing this staring vacantly into an empty box like a stoner staring at his screensaver. Astonishingly, the interface is the singular worst aspect of the entire game. It is buggy, uninformative, difficult to navigate, entirely unintuitive, and I am pretty sure it votes green. I will not go into too much detail here, as there is a perfectly good article explaining the disaster over here, but suffice to say that the 403rd time you misclick the wrong dialogue choice, you feel like you want to drive a riding lawnmower through a field of baby ducklings. Eventually, though, my accomplice and I fended off the interface and crawled our way to freedom. My friend said he would lead me to the next town, but I became distracted by a passing fox, and by the time I was done chasing it around, I had become lost in the grand open world of Skyrim. It was at this point I spent the better part of 20 hours just wandering around and exploring any dungeon and cave I encountered along the way. Every dungeon has a unique and well-thought-out design, making exploring easily the most fun part of the game. And sneaking up behind people and stabbing them in the dark one at a time is especially satisfying because you are treated to a mini cutscene of your character slitting the NPC's throat every time you do so. In fact, I got so into the immersion that when my roommate called me from downstairs, I refused to answer him for fear the NPCs in the game would hear me. It is still a Bethesda game though, meaning you can find yourself accidentally and permanently stuck on pieces of terrain. Dialogue options are frequently limited to variations of yes and no. Female NPCs have spectacular and improbable breasts no matter how old or butterfaced they are, and some of the dungeon puzzles are extremely poorly designed. There was one puzzle in particular that really pissed me off. A common puzzle are picture combination locks where you spin pillars to match symbols you see on the walls. There was one such puzzle where the order of the pictures was not clear, so I took my best guess and hit the switch, but nothing happened. Undaunted, I tried again in reverse order and still got nothing. After several more unsuccessful attempts, including repeating my original guess, I reasoned there are only 3 pillars with 3 pictures each for a total of 27 possible combinations. I will just try every possible combination in order until I find the right one. 27 possible combinations later, the door was still locked. So in desperation, I tried my original combination one more time and poof, it opened. That is when I had to buy a new keyboard. There was also one quest I was really excited would have a reward tied to the Morrowind storyline, but was extremely disappointed to open the magical time vault only to find a book instead. This was about as disappointing as being an excited child on Christmas morning and opening your present to find, well, a book. But all in all, the adventures of Lady Stabby McCatbush was the most fun I have had playing a game in several years. I highly recommend it to anyone. Just make sure you have your friends check up on you every once in a while to make sure you have not lost your mind chasing butterflies. Also, it is easier to put up with invincible children when you do not want to kill them for being mouthy little shits.